Welcome to this quick video that will help guide you in choosing your own project for the last two projects of the semester. Now, one thing you can do, which I highly recommend, is just adding another entity to your project. You already know how to add entities, and you can just watch the controller video again to refresh your mind on how you would add an entity and make sure so you're creating a model and along with a controller and view for that entity. You can even have add in relationships. So you can, if you added more than two entities plus users, so you have three entities right now. If you added a fourth entity, you can add on your ER diagram, you can add that to your project. If you didn't, you can always add more entities to your ER diagram to add more functionality. The one thing is just make sure your project doesn't become a collage. Everything should tie together and relate to the project you're doing. So you wouldn't have like a blog and then on the side have something to buy or something like that. Just as long, or I guess you could, as long as everything relates together and ties into a unified project, not just a bunch of different pieces that don't really work with each other. You can't choose a project of just CSS and changing how your project looks. This class is about creating your backend, about Ruby on Rails, and just doing CSS or front end and how your website looks is part of another class, so that will not count as a project. Now, another thing you can do is add a gem to your project. So a gem is a Ruby library, and a library is just a code that somebody else has written for you, and there are lots of gems that tie in to Ruby on Rails and work with that. Go Rails has a list of popular gems with a screencast on how to use them. So you can go to this URL right here and find that a list of gems, and they include pagination, which is like the numbers down at the bottom of the page. If you have a list of a lot of stuff, you only show 10 per page, and you can click next and go to the next page. They have gems for uploading files like pictures, and also gems for sending out emails. So you can have a newsletter, add a newsletter so you can send out emails to your users. Um, and if you do want to send out emails, you can look into the letter opener web gem. That allows you to pretend to send out emails and see what you sent. Now, just adding the letter opener web gem on its own will not count as a project. That's basically adding one line of code to your project. And then, so that doesn't count, but you can use that to help you send out emails. Now you can also add some functionality to your site. You can add a Remember Me box. When they go to log in, you can check out this box that remembers them. That way, if they close the browser, they open it up, they come back to their site, then they'll still be logged in. They won't have to log in again. And you can also add a forgot password link. You can add some JavaScript or Ajax to your page to make your site more functional that way. A search, and there are lots of gems that can help you search. So if you have like a list of blog posts and you can search the text through them, you can add a calendar. There's gems that add to calendars and so on. Finally, for inspiration, there are two websites that you could go to visit. One is called gorails.com, and there are some premium videos that you cannot watch unless you want to pay some money. But there are also a lot of free videos, and you can look through those videos and find something that you want to add to your site. As long as it works well with your project, you can do that. Railscast also has a lot of videos, and I believe it's all free now. However, those videos will be a little bit old. So you'll have to update them to work with the current version of Rails. They haven't added a new Railscast for at least 3 or 4 years, if not more. But you can still go to the site and find some inspiration, and then you can go look at the documentation for the gems he uses there and figure out how to do it in the current version of Rails. And if you have any questions, make sure you ask the professor and start asking early so that you can get a response back before it becomes too late.